Well, the court will come to order. There's a quorum present as all commissioners are here. All notices have been posted and this meeting is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Available, open court.
Please rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the May 2011 term with the Honorable Clay Lewis Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Today our invocation will be given by a guest of Commissioner Warren Deacon.
Thank you, Judge. And our pastor this morning is Ricarte Espinal. He is the pastor of the La Promesa congregation associated with and located at the Gaston Oaks Baptist Church. Pastor Espinal grew up in a very poor family with 13 children in Honduras. Pastor Espinal is a bivocational pastor. He is not only the pastor of the La Promesa congregation, but also helps operate a fence construction business. He is married and he's the father of 3 children. Thank you for coming, Pastor Espinal. If you would pray for us, please.
Thank you, everybody, for this invitation. It's so really great outside, and it's a big privilege. And we pray this morning for this court. Every person below to this court is the invitation people right here. Let's go pray. Gracias, Señor, por la hermosa oportunidad que nos da estar aquí. Gracias por ese aire que respiramos, por esa paz que respiramos. Gracias, Padre, por cada una de las personas que están aquí. Que pongas una bendición especial, especialmente en todos los comisionados que están aquí en esta corte. Pongas inteligencia en ellos, para que todas las decisiones que se hagan sean bajo tu voluntad. Gracias, Señor. Amén. We thank you, Lord, for this great opportunity, for this peace we breathe in this place. We thank you, Lord, for this every each commissioner in this court, with a special bless in every each person. Put a special bless in every person who be here in this court. We thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day outside. Bless, put a special bless for this city of Dallas. Special bless for whole America, for every each family in America. We thank you. In your name we pray.
Welcome to this meeting of the Dallas County Commissioners Court. We will begin by considering items on our official agenda. Then we will recess for our informal work session and briefing session. And we'll hear from registered speakers. The court will reconvene in closed session to consider matters as allowed by law. We have 2 resolutions this morning, and the first is from Commissioner Price.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. I would ask Mary Alice Fox and the delegation from Orange to please come forward. This resolution reads, whereas Mary Alice Fox, also known as Foxy, will retire on May 31st, 2011, after 22 years of outstanding and meritorious service in the County of Dallas and the Dallas County Elections Department. And whereas Mary Fox began her career with Dallas County Elections on August 4, 1988 as a records file clerk, and whereas Mary advanced on June 1st, 1994 to the supervisor of records filing section with increasing responsibility as a result of her diligent work. And whereas in recognition of her outstanding leadership and skill, Mary was promoted to the position of Imaging Tech Supervisor on October 18, 1999, where she currently serves. And whereas Mary is involved in the community, assisting with Kwanzaa Fest, voter registration drives, and currently is a volunteer at the Duncanville Rehabilitation Center. Mary has worked as an outstanding election polling clerk and active member of the New Comfort Church of God in Christ, a Sunday school clerk, Sunday school teacher, and alternate Bible band teaching, and served for 8 years as Young People Willing Workers president and is an active member of the Christian Women's Council. Whereas Mary, a widow, was married for 25 years, and she is the mother of 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. And whereas throughout her 22 years of service, Mary has served the citizens of this county and the election department with fairness, dedication, and thoroughness. She has earned the respect and admiration of management and co-workers for her knowledge, efficiency, and her humor. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Dallas County Commissioners Court do hereby extend to Mary Alice Fox our sincere and grateful appreciation for her dedicated service to the Elections Department and to Dallas County on a well-earned retirement, and we offer our best wishes for her continued success, happiness, and good health. Nice one.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Pickens, vote.
Would like to just say thanks from the Elections Department to Ms. Fox for her committed and faithful service to the Elections Department and to the community. Ms. Fox has been one of our very finest support group supervisor. She's been the supervisor over a lot of the part-timers that you hear on the telephone, on our phone bank, and hiring and training those individuals that help during the peak seasons when we have 40 or 50,000 voter registration applications that we have to process in less than a week time. She makes that kind of commitment on a daily basis. And we just want to say thank you for a job well done. And back in 1998, when we did our conversion from the paper to the images, Ms. Fox was instrumental in making that project be very successful. We had to go from one site to the other. This was all done off-site at our North Dallas Government Center, and Ms. Fox was doing her daily job, plus going over to the North Dallas Government Center to make sure that over 4 million documents were being imaged to our new voter registration system. So we want to thank her for making that project go very well. So we'd just like to say thank you, and now she can take that long coffee break. But as usual, we do like to have our retired individuals come back and work with us. So in that, we want to say thank you, and it's a well-deserved coffee break.
Ms. Fox.
I would just like to say good night to God, Judge Jenkins, and all the commissioners, everyone that's here today. It's an honor to be standing here before you all. It's a long time coming. And I thank God for, it's a sad occasion, it's a happy occasion. And I have enjoyed my stay in the election department. For these 20-some years, I've enjoyed it. That's why I want to come back and help out. Because I love my coworkers. They're like my family. I love Tony. Tony has helped me in many occasions. She let me know, don't take everything at heart. Because I used to cry when my co-workers would leave me. And she said, look, that's not your family. This is a swing, a revolving door. I said, oh, Lord, have mercy. But nevertheless, I thank God, for the stay that I've had with the Dallas County Election Department. I've enjoyed it very, very much. And my family's here, plus my co-workers. My daughter, Vicki Peavy, is here. My sister, my sister, Lottie Wilder, my nephew, Russell Miller, my niece, Shantae Jones, my niece, Donna Williams, my granddaughter, Latricia, and I tell you, the officer, my right hand, my left hand, work with me. That's my daughter, too, Tamika Harper. be good for you. Yeah, that's really good. And she's a great, all of them, my group, the whole group, elected groups, my family. And I love them. I'm going to miss them so very, very much. But I will be back.
I was going to sing, it's a family affair. As the kids say, I'm going to let you make it. One of the things I want to do, and I'm going to take this time to challenge you to, is to spend some time over the weekend looking at numbers in Dallas County. And while you've done a great job, needless to say, everybody talks about, the election part. Dallas County has a registration of voters at 1998 levels. 1998. Everybody talks about how to 1998. So this is my challenge to you. First of all, we purged 70,000 voters. I looked at those numbers this weekend. Dallas County, in a 2.4 million population, has 1,600,000 people who are 18 years of age and older. And of that, only 1,083,000 are registered voters. We have 600,000 people who are not registered to vote. So I guess I'm using this as a segue. First of all, to challenge you and say we don't need you to come back so you can vote. We're going to have to get those people on the registration roll. We had somebody who had been in that position forever, and a voter registered was getting paid, and we're at 1998 levels. That's unacceptable. So we need you to come back with your skill sets on part-time to help us with this new initiative that we are going to take on.
And just on that track, Ms. Fox, congratulations. And I do have to say that it's great to see a lot of the elections department and, of course, all the family. Well, mechanical light. But anyway, just on that track, Mr. Price, I do have to say that I had a meeting with Tony this week about voter registration. And we're planning on moving already some of the graduations. I talked to Dr. Hinojosa, and he has pointed the contact, and Dr. Rodriguez, and we're working on that. So just I want to say thank you, of course, to Ms. Fox, and yes, Ms. Fox, we're going to need you to come back and help us, but thank you also, Tony, for, leading the way in moving fast, because that's what it's going to take, that we move fast in voter registration in Dallas County. So thank you.
And I want to echo that and point out that there's absolutely no reason why we cannot register every child who graduates from high school, regardless of what district they graduate from, public or private schools here in Dallas County. It's important to teach them citizenship. It's important to give them the opportunity to participate. And I know we've got a new voter registrar who is going to actually get started and get that job done for us. So we're looking forward to that.
You got him here?
That's him right there.
Why don't you introduce him so the court knows who he is?
Few words.
Our new voter registration supervisor is Remy Lopez.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, that's good enough. Go to work.
That's what I plan to do. I want to hit the ground running, learn as quick as I can from Ms. School, and the rest of the staff have been great support and teaching me everything that I need to know and increase registration, and that's what we're shooting for.
It's called go swear them in, get deputies, and go.
Thank you. We have a
We have one other resolution, and that one will be read by me. Let me ask Lisa Chambers and the CERT team to come forward. This resolution is in honor of Dallas County Community Emergency Response Team. Anybody who's been watching the news has seen the carnage and devastation in Joplin, Missouri, and weeks before that, areas of Texas with the fires, and the lands around Mississippi are dealing with the flooding seems like it's a year of emergencies throughout the United States, and of course, with the devastation in Sendai and the year before that in Haiti, it seems to be an age of emergencies. And so what these folks do is so critically important to our emergency preparedness here in Dallas County. So I want to recognize them today and honor them. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Dallas County Community Emergency Response Team demonstrated outstanding service for the promotion of emergency preparedness and response to disasters that help improve the overall safety of the community. And whereas the Dallas County CERT will serve a critical role in the future activation of the Emergency Operations Center with the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and has shown their ability to educate our community during classroom and full-scale exercises and quickly respond to communities in need. From the recent mission to aid people in tornado-devastated regions near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and whereas each year emphasizes the importance for trained community groups like this to respond to victims of disaster. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Dallas County Commissioners Court is hereby recognize the Dallas County Community Emergency Response Team for their efforts to educate residents about basic disaster response skills and for their commitment to ensuring the safety of our community. And I move for its adoption. All those in favor? Y'all want to say a few words?
Judge Jenkins, Dallas County Commissioners, thank you. It's such an honor to be standing with these men and women.
Lisa, hold the mic up so people know.
Such an honor to be standing with these men and women. I first went to speak to this CERT group about a year ago. And since then, they've really developed into, I think, one of the premier community emergency response teams in the region, and if not the state. Sadly, what we've seen with the disasters of late in Japan, in Alabama, and in Joplin, Missouri, is that right after a disaster, the internet, cell phones, Blackberries don't work. It's folks like these men and women who are the grassroots, community level help that really gets out there, gets the message across, and saves lives. So it's really an honor for me to work with them. I'd like to introduce them to Peter Aaron.
Well, I appreciate the Commissioners Court and County Judge Clay Jenkins for inviting us up and giving us this resolution. A little brief history of our organization is that in 2001, we were tasked with creating a program for Dallas County Health and Human Services, their emergency communications program. And we ran that program for 5 years until 2005. Came back into the community to really start to do some grassroots work and train individuals, because we see preparedness from a grassroots level up. And I think that's where a lot of people in emergency preparedness missed it. But we were given the latitude and longitude to do what we need to do in terms of grassroots levels. We are presently in the process of going and working with the Deaf Action Center, because that's a whole population that's being missed in terms of emergency preparedness. We're meeting right now with the Eastfield Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to bring our class to the college level out in Pleasant Grove. And so we're also in the process of trying to put this program for the health inside the health professions magnet school. So we appreciate the latitude that we've been given to work this organization. A few weeks ago, when I called my good friend Commissioner Price up and told him that we were going to go to Alabama and see what we could do to help out. I appreciate him, saying, "Hey, go do what you've been trained to do." And that's what we did. We took 4 of our members and we went to Alabama to help out in that area. We were tasked with working inside the Emergency Operations Center and helping them coordinate the clothing and things of that nature. One of the things that sets us apart from most community emergency response teams is that we do have emergency communications that we work with ongoingly within the Dallas area, as well as we are out most of the time, all yesterday, working with the Skywarn team in terms of giving information back to the National Weather Service and things of that nature. So we're on the ground, we're running, and we've been actually doing this project for almost 11 years out of our pockets. So I really appreciate all those individuals who've come on board, and we have a real great group of folks. We've gone beyond what the normal community emergency response team program asks us to do. We've got a deeper search and rescue aspect of our organization that we actually do. But we wanted to thank you all for allowing us to come down, and for my good friend, Jack Thompson, for giving us some of that latitude, for working with the Health and Human Services, and for Scott Greason, Larry Thompson, and Roderick Jones, and of course your Office of Emergency Management, Lisa Chambers, for allowing us to work with them for the last year. Thank you.
Well, and Judge, I want to say to Aaron, for the last 20-something years, we worked kind of hand in hand, and I really appreciate this volunteer effort in this community. But I also appreciate Ms. Chambers, Lisa Chambers. When I told her about Aaron, she reached out. She didn't come into this community and just basically say, I know what I'm doing. I've got this. She reached out, and as a result, we watched these individuals, and as we talked about Mr. Thompson, the MRC, the Medical Reserve Corps, they understood how they needed to take all of that and blend it. So I do appreciate Mr. McCarthy and all of the team, and so many people that I see in terms of this community who always seem to be on the ground. We're always able to count. When you start talking about going to Alabama, start talking about how much water you're going to drag down. You have a tractor. He was trying to say, why don't y'all just go in down there? Because he was trying to carry, at that time, he was trying to get a tractor trailer to carry water in down. We had some water in the warehouse. But, I told him there was just no way to drag that much water in Alabama. But, I guess what it says is it's that spirit. It's that spirit of we're going to go do whatever we need to do to make it work. And we talk about good neighbor relations. We talk about sister cities in Japan and everywhere else. Right here, we have a group of ambassadors that are basically saying, they got a corps out of Dallas that's trained, ready, and then volunteers to get into that. So, I just appreciate it.
Hey, I'd like to second that. There's an adage, 90% of the work is done by 10% of the people. I know you're all like this. I know I've worked with Aaron on several important community initiatives, dealing with those folks who are working to get deferred adjudications or should have never been on the record to begin with, off the record so they can get back into the workforce, to other community issues. I really appreciate your work. And I want to say, so impressed by our Dallas County employees. Mary Fox giving up her time, not only at her church and things of that nature, but giving up her time as a volunteer at the Duncanville Rehabilitation Center to visit folks at that center who maybe have no family to visit. We've got just an extraordinary group of people here at Dallas County. And it's an honor to work with them, both the paid folks and the folks who volunteer their time. Thank you. All right. Our next item is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion on our consent agenda?
Second.
Those in favor? We must consider our bids. Motion on the bid. I got it. So moved. All those in favor? And you can now consider court orders 10 through 28 as your motion on 10 through 28. So moved. All those in favor? All right, we'll start touching the 14 next. Go ahead.
And colleagues, members of the audience, I just want to put on the record an agenda item for number 14 that I am going to support this item. I know how important this project is for the jail, and I promised many times that this project will have to be done. However, in this bid contracts, there was Dallas-based that had a minority crime and a multi-ethnic group. For me, that's extremely important to support. People that pay taxes in Dallas, like some of these companies do, need to have, additional points when it comes to bids and getting contracts. So with that, I will support you know, what happened.
And Judge, if I could recognize I think Dr. Garcia, Commissioner Garcia has made that very point, and I think we all in this court, for the most part, supports that position. And there is legislation that's working its way through, whereby we will be able to accomplish what you, but also I will remind staff that it does say 30-day contract negotiation. That's the optional word.
And I agree with everything that Dr. Garcia said as well, and she's voted for it tonight.
I do vote for it, but I'm very anxious to see us give some preference to our local taxpayers.
And that is working, as I talked to Craig this morning, as well, and look for that. Craig Block.
Thank you, Collins.
Just want to make sure you want to get legislation.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that takes us to our briefing session. Mr. Martin.
Good morning, Judge Commissioner. My first item is pending over from the Dallas County District here for recertification.
Did we invite him or did he just come?
Thank you,
Okay. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Judge, Commissioners, thank you for inviting me down today. What I want to do is go
Can you
through.
pull that mic out, Ken?
Sure.
Pull it out. Pull it out. Yeah, pull it out.
What I want to do today is go through what our reappraisal efforts were for this year. You've received your preliminary numbers, I believe, last Thursday. I'll go over those a little bit.
The Oklahoma City Thunder. You're not trying to teach my math, are you?
I'm a Celtics fan, so. I'm going to stay out of that one, Judge. Go through what we've done, talk a little bit about the preliminary numbers, and tell you about some dates this summer and when you'll have your final information. I'm going to go through our three basic categories of property: residential, commercial, and business personal property. Let me talk about residential first. This year we reappraised about 209,000, almost 210,000 accounts that covered about 1,747 neighborhoods in Dallas County. The way we reappraise residential property is we go to those neighborhoods that are in need of reappraisal, either because they're too high or too low. We don't do a geographic reappraisal. We do it as it's needed to make sure we're still at market value. We reappraise all mobile homes every year. You can see new construction. There wasn't that much of it this year in Dallas County. We had about 3,000 new construction permits on residential and about 21,000 or over 21,000 miscellaneous permits for remodels, pools, that type of thing. The chart, we did about 32% of the residential property in Dallas County. Last year we did about 42%, the year before that about 45%. Now the reason being is, and I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, the residential market is basically flat. There's not a whole lot going on. Values not necessarily going down that much, they're also not going up that much. That's why we did a little bit less reappraisal on the residential side this year. And just, that's a map. It covers, I tell people it looks like the printer went haywire, but that's how our map, that's when we reappraise. It's all over the county and it's based on need. It's not any one particular area. What are the trends in residential? New construction activity was similar to last year, very slow. There's not much going on. Values are flat to slightly down in the northern sector of the county this year. We've seen the last couple of years, we've seen foreclosure activity in areas we've never seen it before. Preston Hollow, Highland Park, places like that. High-end, as I said, high-end properties seeing more foreclosure activity. Tear-downs, not a whole lot of that going on anymore. The financing's not available, and there's not a whole lot of people have the money to sit on it, build a spec house and sit on it for a couple of years like they used to. Values are flat to down as well in the southern sector. The foreclosure problem we had a couple of years ago has not resurfaced. We dealt with that back in 08 and 09. We haven't seen a second wave of that, which is good. But at the same time, values have not started to go back up again either. And inventory for vacant lots, values on vacant lots are flat to down as well, because there's just no demand. Commercial, we do a little bit different. We do about 1/3 of all the commercial property each year. The reason being is this is a non-disclosure state, and we don't necessarily have enough sales information up front as we do at residential to target particular areas. So we kind of do it in a geographical area. We also look at all the major property types: office, retail, industrial, and apartments. And by the virtue of the fact that most commercial properties are represented by professional consultants, we'll end up looking at all of it at the end of the day. So they're all going to come in and they're all going to want to talk to us about it. You can see on the commercial side, new construction is even less than residential, like 463 new construction permits, about 4,800 miscellaneous permits. We did about 48% of the commercial properties this year. You can see a breakdown by city and by school. That's geographically the areas in blue are the areas that we did both land and improvements, and in the areas in beige are the areas we looked at the commercial land values. What do we know about commercial? New construction dipped down again, 17% from 2010 to 2011 in commercial. We do have some bright spots. Class A apartments seem to be doing well. We actually raised some values there. There's obviously a continued uncertainty in today's market. There's limited sales activity. There's not a whole lot of commercial sales taking place anywhere, mostly because there's limited commercial financing. There's people sitting on the sidelines right now with lots of cash that are still waiting for the market. They think the market's going to go down even further, so there's not a whole lot going on.
And what percentage of those commercial values are the new apartments in terms of?
Apartment market probably represents less than 20% of the value-wise the whole file. But again, we've seen some transactions in Class A apartments. Rents are starting to come up, so that's a bright spot actually. We also saw some activity in hotels this year. They're doing better than they were. As I said, rents and occupancies for the most part are flat to down. Cap rates will be similar to 2010, which is a good thing, because from 9 to 10, cap rates went up dramatically. They've kind of stabilized now, so that means that values will not go down as much as they could have. What we do in commercial, as I said, is a little bit different. We, for the most part, unless we have information up front, we'll notify commercial property owners pretty much at last year's value, and then they come to see us with all the information we have to have. Rent rolls, expense statements, INEs, all the things we have to do to come up with a reasonable value. Because again, this is not a disclosure state. We're not privy to the information up front. I'm going to emphasize this. The preliminary values are a poor indicator for commercial property. Because again, we will see most of the information and most of the loss during the summer. Whereas residential, we will not lose very much value during the summer. Because we have all the sales information up front. We have a pretty good grip on what the market is. Hence, the commercial appraisal roll could decline anywhere from 5 to 15% between when we send out notices in May until we certify in July. Now, last year it ended up going down about 9, I believe, which was better than we thought. Personal property, we do everything every year. That's just a breakdown of the type of accounts we have. And the reason we do all personal property every year is because it's so mobile. Inventories change, assets change constantly, so we have to look at everything every year. We'll get about 65,000, this is personal property conditions, they get filed. We'll process about 2,100 Freeport exemptions and about 150 pollution control exemptions that'll come off the roll. We have about 87,000 personal property accounts, and as I said, that's a breakdown of where they are, and we'll do all of them every year. What do we know about personal property? Basically the same thing. Values are flat to down, taxable values go down. Companies are not reinvesting in new assets, obviously in a bad economy. Same way with inventory, retail inventory, department stores, and they're not going to keep as much inventory as they would in good times. But personal property doesn't change very much from year to year. Unless a large company comes to town or a large company leaves town, it kind of goes up and down maybe 1 or 2% a year. Now, what happened at the end of the day? On residential, we had 1,000 new accounts. We increased 43,000 accounts. We lowered 149,000 accounts, which is significantly less than the last 2 years. Last 2 years, we've lowered over 200,000 residential accounts. So you could surmise by that things are getting a little bit better, not as bad as they were a couple of years ago. And then 449,000 accounts, we had no change. On commercial, we had 542 new accounts. We increased 5,500. We lowered 4,500. 62,000 stayed the same. And on personal property, we had 10,000, almost 11,000 new accounts. 32,000 were increased, 23,000 were decreased, and 32,000 were no change. What does that mean? Now, let me say, this is going to look a little bit different than what came out in the paper last week. What they used in the paper last week was preliminary values we gave you last year versus preliminary values this year. What this chart is the preliminary market value for this year versus the market value of the 2010 roll as of May. In other words, all the changes, because the roll typically goes down during the year due to late homestead exemptions, litigation settlements, clerical error settlements, all the things that the code allows. So you can see in the case of Dallas County, the total market value is actually up 1.84%. Residential was down about 0.68%, commercial was up 4%, and business personal property was up 4.8%. Now, will that hold during the summer? Obviously not. Now, the residential won't change very much at all. Personal property, will not change that much at all. It'll be the commercial one. Yes, Judge.
Okay. Just for historical purposes, you're at 1.84 now. Where were you last year vis-a-vis 2009 at this point when you did this presentation? What was that number?
I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember. It was up slightly. It typically is. And again, this is market value. This is not taxable because the exemptions, we don't know how much exemptions will be granted to people that are eligible for homesteads, for Freeport, for religious, charitable, all the different things that are allowed under the law. That's why I typically go with market value. That's a true indicator of what's going on in the marketplace.
Well, could we use that number vis-a-vis the number from last year and try to extrapolate what our loss is going to be this year?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we sort of have that number today, right?
Right.
But
that is available.
Yeah.
That's effectively.
Can I have that at 1 o'clock?
I can have it at 1 o'clock. But it's effectively what I already sent to you. I
Yeah,
just didn't
well,
market
1%.
value, I used taxable.
Okay, so that's still 4.5.
Judge, typically what everybody will do will go back over a period of time and look at what we gave you in May and then what you ended up with in July. And yeah, you can come up with trends based on what's happening. Because so far this year, protests are slightly down compared to last year.
Because values.
Not a lot happens, so there's not a whole lot of reason for people to come see us. I've also put up there the City of Dallas and DISD for comparison purposes, what they did. And the last two slides in your packet show everybody's, every city, every school, every special district, what they have preliminary market value versus what the latest 2010 market value is. This year notification, we're required by law to send out notices for ownership changes. If we increase in the value, any new accounts, if we've changed the cap value on homesteads from the previous year, they get a notice. If you render your account, if you have a tax consultant, and again, all business personal property accounts get notices. One thing we did this year, for the first time, is we PDF'd a notice for every single piece of property in Dallas County and placed it on our website, which is more information than we've ever provided before. That resulted in 121,000 residential notices being mailed, 25,600 commercial, all personal property, ag and exemptions 2,500 for a total of 228,000. You can see last year we mailed 501,000 notices, so we mailed about 272,000 notices less than the previous year. Significant dates, as I said, we mailed our first mailing, our big mailing on April 29th. The protest deadline for that's coming up next Tuesday, which is May 31st. Our second mailing for business personal property went out May 17th. That deadline for protest is June 30th. Law says you have, it's May 31st, or 30 days from the date you receive the notice. And then the last mailing, which is basically unique properties, utilities, ag, leased equipment, things like that, those went out May 24th with the protest of June 23rd. You received your first preliminary value estimates on May 19th. Those estimates are available to all taxing entities on a daily basis online. So there should be no surprises when we come July. You'll be able to look at it every single day to see what's going on. Our hearings were going to begin on May 23rd. We revised that. We don't have enough protests right now. We'll probably start June 6th for the first day of hearings. You'll get a preliminary appraisal roll on June 3rd, the complete roll, which we send to everybody every year so they can test it and make sure everything works. And then we believe our ARB hearings will end on July 15th, and our plan right now is to certify the roll on July 20th, which is 5 days early from the July 25th legal deadline that we're required to certify the roll. And so those are the charts. If you're interested, that's every single city, county, school, what their preliminary numbers were versus their final numbers.
Let me just say a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank County Clerk John Warren and Mr. John Ames, County Tax Assessor Collector. Both of them serve on the Central Appraisal District Board as our representative. So I really appreciate their service. Secondly, I think we all know that, and sometimes it goes without being said. We're very fortunate to have you in this region. Yeah. We, believe it or not, even sometimes when the evaluation comes up, like some of us ask, and so we look around the state to see what everybody else is doing compared to the kind of job you've been in this region. So we're very fortunate. We want you to know that. Secondly, I'm real concerned. I think Ryan Brown kind of hit it on the head, but based on all of this, we have forecast that we're going to be at about 3.5% in terms of values. Basically, the news you're bringing us today is basically saying we're about 1% off in terms of that valuation.
We've told, when we went out and did our budget business this year, we've told everybody, depending on where you are in Dallas County, somewhere between flat and worst case 5% down, we think. Now, depends on Addison, for example, which has a large amount of commercial property, will suffer more losses than a bedroom community like Duncanville, for example, which is mostly residential. As I said, the loss won't be in residential and business personal property in the summer. It'll be in commercial property, as it always is. There are some bright spots, like I said, hotels, Class A apartments. We haven't, other than retail, which continues to suffer, which hasn't really done very well. Everything else in the commercial sector is just kind of flat. Things are, people, as I said, they're sitting on the sidelines and just kind of waiting to see what happens.
I'm very concerned about these AG's lawsuits and when they may or may not pop in terms of what's going on in foreclosure in terms of residential. Because there's some forecasts nationwide that there may be as many as 6 million in the pipeline. And based on when they pop, it has impact. I don't know if they can impact us maybe this year, but I just want to know.
The comment I would make about that is what people need to remember about Texas and Dallas in particular. We never saw the housing bubble that Florida did, Las Vegas, Phoenix, where values shot up 20, 30, 50%. Best case scenario, at the best of times in Dallas County, residential values are probably going up anywhere from 5 to 10% on the average. Therefore, when they fell, they didn't fall that much either. Now, granted, we did have a foreclosure problem a couple of years ago, and it was more a function of the people who own the property and their financial situation versus what had happened in the market. We weren't overbuilt, and as I said, in some of the southern sector communities, that's kind of washed out. It hasn't reoccurred. We haven't seen a second wave. Now, granted, if you're right, if all of a sudden a lot of foreclosures hit the market, it will cause the market to go down. Because obviously, if you're that one person on the street who's trying to sell their house, and your competition is nothing but foreclosures, you're going to have to lower your price accordingly. What's much more concerning and what we really don't know and no one knows is what may happen with commercial property. If commercial properties get dumped on the market, that will have a drastic effect. Now, right now, hasn't happened. Banks don't want the property back. They're working with the people who own it, the people who have the notes in there, and it's so far so good.
I understand what the banks are doing. I'm worried about what the federal government's doing.
And again, exactly. I said I don't think anybody has an answer to what they may or may not do. But
we were kind of at this same stage last year, waiting.
It's a wait and see market. We're much more fortunate than most outside the country, and I think in Texas in general, Dallas is probably much more fortunate than most. Austin typically leads the market for whatever reason. They have not seen that much decline. In fact, I know they raised residential values in Austin this year. I read an article in the Statesman. But other than that, I would say compared to Houston, we're doing as well, if not better than they are.
You know, Austin and sales tax figures and other indications are we likely to see a better year next year, or are we going to be
My point of reference is that unfortunately been doing this for a long time. The last time in the late 80s when the market went down, we lowered the roll, I believe at 87. We never saw an increase again until 94. It took about 7 years. Now, are we in as bad a shape as we were last time? No. We don't have for example, on commercial property, we don't have the overbuilding that we had back in the late 80s in the central business district, for example. So I think it's going to be a period of time. Do I think it's going to be 7 years? No. I think it's probably going to go on for a couple more years. The problem is financing. There's people out there who would like to buy, I'm speaking commercial more so, who either can no longer qualify because of the increased scrutiny and the regulations that were put in place, Or, as I said, there's people on the sidelines with cash waiting, thinking, okay, the market's going to go down some more. When it does, I'm going to jump in.
Do you expect the market to contract next year as well?
I expect it to be similar to this year,
So similar to down another 3.5%, 4%.
or less.
Why did you include in the countywide entities Louisville?
We do a small portion. The law says that any taxing unit that has a portion of their property in more than one county has to split at the county line. That didn't used to be the point, the case, but legislature changed the law. So we actually do part of Louisville, we do part of Grapevine, and we do part of Carrollton. Thank you, Carrollton Farmers Branch. We do about 6 or 7, and we only do a small portion.
Is there part of Grapevine or Louisville that is in Dallas County?
Yes, ma'am. There is, out by the airport.
Again, can't say enough about you, Ken.
Well, let me say this while I'm here. We couldn't do our job without the support of Dallas County. You pay a large portion of our budget. We're very appreciative of that. We're also appreciative of Mr. Warren and Mr. Ames being on our board, and I want to thank you for all you do for us.
Judge, Commissioners, I have 2 Health and Human Services. Recommend approval of the agreement with the Texas Performing Chinese Arts Association to use their facility for the older adult services program. Item 3, purchasing. 3A, recommend approval of the RFP for residential substance use treatment services for CSCD. 3B, recommend rendering the firms identified in the agreement with you proceed to step 2 of the RFP process for virtual services for electronic payments and data card processing services. Item 3C, recommend request for our application for Dallas County Bank Deposit Service to be awarded to Bank of America. Item 3D.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
before you get any further there. Mr. Welch, I want to talk a little bit about that. They've had our contract, or even purchase of bill, let's talk about it. They've had our contract for a minute. And are we sure in terms of negotiations, that's on notes, that we're not able to negotiate in a better position?
You know what? I don't know that we put a beat down on them. Got savings.
I understand. I want to make sure that was a real deep down. The definition is not the same.
From my perspective, the primary reason for the recommendation, and within the Finance Review Committee we discussed this, was there's $338,000 worth of costs that are covered stock dollars with bank and service credits, earnings credits, that we rely on. The Armored Car Courier contract, which is under the bank, earnings credits pay for that. The Bloomberg State Street, which is a third-party holding company for securities, and Wells Fargo wire reimbursements for the benefits trust. All of which, if we took the Chase bid, I'd have to come to the court and ask for $338,000 more from my budget for 4 years. So that's the main reason.
Okay, and I appreciate that, but once in a while you have to kind of say that, these contracts sail through, and it appears as though we're in lockstep, and nobody has done it. As the judge said, we're in the Financial Review Committee, and you're talking about it, and it really just looks like we just passed on a contract without getting the intricacies. So basically, taxpayers are saving, as you said, $1,000 every month.
I don't want to commend you for that. I asked y'all to beat down, it's not a good word for the county judge, to work vigorously to save the taxpayers money in our next contract. And you and our financial advisors did a good job to save us that money.
Words you use all the time.
County judge speak up here.
Thank you, Mr. Wells and the committee.
Item 3D.
County be done.
3D recommends incorporating the East Park Advantage as a susceptible firm for award consideration for RFP provided advantage for parking garage, include lots B and F, and authorize staff to enter this contract negotiation.
Okay, we're on point regarding that, with regard to raised, the budget director said with regards to the whole parking scenario. They understand that's part of what we expect from them, correct?
$700,000 for the taxpayers, right?
I want it on the record, okay. Good.
700?
And, so,
We went through that process, through that whole process.
Okay.
So the standard services.
good one. Want it on for the record. Thank you.
Human Resource Civil Service, item 4A, recommends approval of the revised policy section of Title 8 of Regional Rate Articles 1 through 7 and Chapter 82 of the Dallas County Code, to the District County Departments for a 30-day period.
And just on this point, Mr. Martin, this is being posted already for our employees and heads of departments to review as well, right?
This for departments to review, will come back to you for final approval if
Right.
there are no major changes from the department. If there are major changes, we'll review that at that point and
Okay.
discuss those changes.
Thank you so much.
Item 4B, recommend approval of the request from Human Resource Civil Service to publicize the discount program offered by the Texas Club, a collection dispersed funds in compliance with county ordinance and federal requirements. Item 5, Public Works. 5A, recommend acceptance of the amended City of Dallas Land Assembly Program proposal submitted by the Dallas Community Organization of property located at 5408 Bear Street, 2440 Starks Avenue, and extend the term of the development period from March 30th and May 17, 2013, respectively.
And let me just say to the court, as your one of your appointees, along with Ms. Joyce Brown, the Dallas Housing Acquisition Corporation, we think this is appropriate. This is some of that property. Rick, if you, I'm not getting anything else to add. But these are some of those properties that are in areas that have some real infrastructure challenges. When you talk about going in and redeveloping property, most people look surgically, but it's the infrastructure that drives the day. And while we've had these nonprofits come in and talk about redeveloping, of the 20,000 properties in the city of Dallas, we have targeted 4,000 of the Dallas Housing Acquisition Corporation. What's going on in places like Bear Street and Stark is that you're coming in, you may have a 4-inch water line. The fire marshal will not approve a building permit until they get an 8-inch water line in there. A lot of these nonprofits have not factored in that water line into their equation. And as Mr. Nolan talked about a few minutes ago, we think for the next 5 years in the city of Dallas, the number one builder is going to be Habitat for Humanity in terms of permits. We're looking at those permits each and every time we meet, in addition to these targeted census tracts for these nonprofits. And it's a real challenge. Some of them have had to come back in and reforecast their numbers, and they haven't been able to make it work. And so this is an appropriate exemption, and hopefully the court will embrace. I just want you to have some background as to what's going on with these targeted properties. If you have not seen the Bear Street area, the target areas, you'd really be surprised at what they are doing. So.
And continue to support these programs that are back and land banks, where the county and different the city of Dallas, of course, I'm familiar with that one, the municipalities as well.
ISD is part of it.
It's part of it, and they're definitely making the difference. Like Commissioner Forrest said, West Dallas has another one, Oak Cliff, Lake Cliff has another one, and there's around 12 already within the city of Dallas. I'm happy that Commissioner Forrest and Ms. Brown are working on this good work.
This
Thank
is
you.
Ed.
Yep.
Item 5D, recommend approval of amendment 3 to the IDIQ contract of Gas Associates to extend the current contract to September 30, 2011. Item 5C, recommend execution of the advanced funding agreement for the project using funds held from State Highway 121 Summit Company. Number 1, the test stop for Railroad MCIP, the total state funding amount of $9.19 million, and state payment of $8.3 million for construction in 2011 rather than 2012.
DeSoto. Also, wasn't Grand Prairie and Irving, receiving some part, or was another program? I don't know. I just missed the ball on this.
For our program, Commissioner, these are the only cities with populations of less than 50,000.
Okay.
Irving and Grand Prairie are
Are the ones
cities
in the
that
higher.
receive their own.
Okay. The other thing.
Requesting funding to be paid out for DEA. County Clerk, Professor John Warren, Ed Bailey, Chief Deputy to the County District Clerk Annual State Conference in Louisville, Texas, June 12, 16, 2011. Total estimated cost is about $880, which is paid for the County Clerk's Grant Management Fund. A couple of training items from Health and Human Services. These are just corrections. These are already in the book. Keanu Cooper and Kristen Jones to attend the ISTDI course. Houston, Texas, that is from May 17, 2011, and he decided to attend the FDA Screening Methodology Program in Navy, New York, June 22, 24, 25. So the bus is not for that training. And that concludes.
Let me ask before we move forward, will we all okay with the SWIFT's staff for today, making sure? The problem is that that was with that Howard, we want to make sure. Who's got it?
Okay. In regards to drug analysis personnel, that they're not covered, I was planning to
Okay.
So I reiterated that.
Good. Accreditation is the issue there. I'll make sure. Okay.
That concludes your.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Also, in the miscellaneous items, we have the sale of the livestock. Are these new livestock or the combined livestock? How fast are we selling the donkeys?
We're not selling any donkeys. We're keeping all the donkeys. The last donkey was selling.
Okay, I knew I should have put it in another. The donkeys are not for sale, only the livestock.
I just want you to know the last ass to sell.
Well taken. Well taken, right on point. So, are these the same ones? We added some? This is a new set. Okay, thank you so much. And are we doing anything else other than putting it online?
Not a lot of folks interested in a lot of stuff.
Well, Commissioner, it's always good to know what happened to the donkey.
I know what's happening to the donkey.
Thank you so much. But I want to thank the sheriff. I know that she helps a lot, with different issues when it comes to animals. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I'm running Commissioner Price.
Before the speakers come forward, I'll ask the bailiff to read the rules of the board for public speakers.
All Commissioners, court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief and observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the state of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
All right, as I call your name, for those who have registered, please state your name and your address before speaking. Our first speaker today is Leslie Allen Davis.
Hello, everyone. Name, Leslie Allen Davis, 3035 East Better 41. That's, condition, paranoid, schizophrenic, trying to do the best I can, with the best I can. Make it work count. I want to initiate UN 242 resolution of the UN for Israel, our ally. I want to issue a special based on my understanding for the United States of America. Our Constitution has now been breached. It's just a matter of time for our country, as we know, will be really destroyed. If we have it destroyed, like I said, it will be from within. And people know. So I'm not afraid. I am afraid, but the freedom of speech for the preacher has just been denied. It's been denied. Everybody knows it. It's true. It's already started. I constantly with people after our Constitution. And there's people all over the world. It's our Constitution and our frame of government. And you and two for I want you and two for two. President Barack Obama, he need to take a psychological evaluation. You and 242, Israel in the 39 life. The government of the United States, I've read the president, I'm not online, but I have to say, the president of the United States talking about we're not going to intervene Israel, our ally, long as we know. Because the people in the United States don't want the United States to hurt it more, and that's not right. They don't want to know. That's one of them, as far as I know. The Jews have been the best people I know, based on Jews burden and science center, you have Jews burden, and we have a long going on for the next, that's what I'm talking about. You know, now, I mean, we need to create a national emergency. We need to talk about having kids being in by sundown, because the thing don't, and the lot. See, we are superpowers. But not should not even kill. We superpowers don't kill. We are our most powerful on the face. We don't have time. That's human nature. He should not die. He should have came for our Supreme Court to decide what to do. Thank you.
Our next public speaker is Mr. Charles Ingerfeld.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to address you on the subject of making a commitment to doing the right thing. For more than 12 weeks now, the public has been appearing before you to express personal concerns of various issues. What brought us here in the first place was the unfortunate handling of one named Bruce Sherbert, the former administrator of the Dallas County Elections Department. Your Honor, during those early weeks of our efforts, we sat here to my left and had a meeting with you to air out our frustrations with you in the court on how you handled this man and his petition. We did our best to be open and honest with you, and we felt you were forthright with us when you admitted to us that the situation with Mr. Sherbert could have been handled differently. You also said that you would like to have another meeting with us to discuss further other items, which are of great concern before this court. We're still waiting on that meeting. For several weeks now, the court has paraded before it a number of people who have served well in Dallas County for a period of 20 plus years. You have honored them for their service, and that's all well and good. I commend you for doing so. Yet there is a flaw in your character and integrity when you do so for some, and do not for all.
I'll warn you, remember that our rules don't allow you to make personal attacks. You can't...
I'm addressing the entire court, sir, not you personally.
Doesn't matter whether it's me personally or the entire court. You can speak about your issue, but you cannot attack the integrity of this court or any elected official or any
I'm not making a personal attack, sir. In all honesty.
You may continue. You've been warned. I'll have to have you sit down.
Shouldn't you be more balanced in your efforts in honoring all who have served you well? It still appalls me that you have done nothing to show appreciation to Mr. Sherbert for 25 years of service to this county and all the efforts he put forth in commanding clean, open, and honest elections, and was even known throughout the nation for his efforts in our county. Yet you have not even as much as passed a resolution in honor of his faithful service to the people of this county. When it comes to a distinguished and honorable record for us in our lifetimes to serve of service to people, they will remember us more. They will remember more so that which we did not do than that which we did. One might have a long and distinguished record of service to the people, but if something happens in your tenure of service that is negative, or the people feel that you've been unfair in the slightest way, and you fail to correct it, you will be remembered for that which you did not do, and you will be marked as an unfair person.
That is just what happens when you deal with the public. I call upon you today to make a commitment in doing what is right towards Mr. Sherbert and his family. You've offended them, and the offense has not been made right. You all have balked and failed in that relationship with him and his family, and it won't go away until you make it right. I call upon you to do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Mr. Benny Jeffrey. Mr. Benny Jeffrey. Our last speaker is Mr. Billy Glenn. Mr. Billy Glenn. Billy Glenn. All right. It appears our last two speakers are not here. This court is now reconvened in public session on recess for its closed session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Government Code as previously posted. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in a subsequent session.